Okay, this is the third time I've tried to make this video, but I keep getting sidetracked and ramble because it makes me angry. um, so basically, I want to talk about the what's happened relatively recently, not even completely recently. I've been postponing making videos because I haven't felt like it, and I have my something happened to my hair, which I'm not completely comfortable with. Anyway, sorry, moving on. There was a recent school shooting in the United States in Oregon at a community college. A lot of people were shot, killed, and it sucked. And what infuriates me is a lot of the time when an atrocity like this occurs, one of the first things that comes up is mental illness. You know, why? Because of several reasons. One of the reasons is that it's an easy explanation, and having an explanation for someone committing such an atrocity is kind of a relief. It kind of makes it feel like you have a situation where you can prevent the next thing from happening if you know exactly what it is that caused it. Unfortunately, doing that is very, first of all, it's inaccurate. Secondly, the repercussions of just doing that, following that train of thought in general, are disastrous. And ultimately, despite the fact that the media is putting out the message that people with mental illness need help and we need more attention put towards mental illness, the attention that is put towards it is skewed because our perception of it is skewed. And it's just ultimately making a direct association between violence and mental illness is it creates it's damaging. Just putting forward that thought process is damaging. Um, so I mean, the school shooting occurred. This most recent one was bad, but the shooting that came directly before that, which is there was this elementary school shooting, and several children were killed, and the individual shot himself after having committed all the violence. Now, it's frustrating because looking back into the person's history, there is a diagnosis there. Same thing with the person who did the Virginia Tech shootings. Unfortunately, if you look back into their past, there is a medical diagnosis there. However, the behaviors that they did, the acts they did, that did not occur because of the fact that they have that mental illness there. It happened because of a probably myriad of other reasons, maybe not very many, but a number of different things. You know, not everyone who has bipolar disorder goes and shoots up um, a movie theater. Which, by the way, the guy who was found guilty with that actually was tested for bipolar disorder and doesn't have it. Just side note. Um, yeah. So the person who committed the I think Littleton, I think it was, shootings, named Adam Lanza, actually was, they went back and found that he had been at one point, or it had been um, thought that he has Asperger's and social anxiety or something like that, which I don't know if he actually had it. Um, Either of them. I don't like making assumptions based off not enough information. Um, so also, if you look at the Virginia Tech shooting, the person who was responsible, I'm not going to give their names. I already said one of them. Okay, sorry. What was that? Okay. Okay. Where was I? Oh, right. Okay. So the Virginia Tech shooting, the person who committed that act was diagnosed with selective mutism. I know that was one thing. I don't know if he had any other diagnosis, but that was one thing that he did have. Now, not a lot of people, well, it's not common to have selective mutism, but quite a lot of people do have it. I mean, like, in total. And don't do that. So it's an inconsistent correlation that produces a situation where stigma erupts inevitably. And when stigma erupts, people who have mental illnesses, it becomes far more difficult for them to get help because people are misinformed. And moreover, that the misinformation that's being put forward by the media, and when they directly correlate mental illness with violence, is damaging for people who have it. Like, for example, I have a cousin who struggled through school and very well, definitely should have been diagnosed with a mental illness. Died because of terrible circumstances that I won't. But you know, it not being treated, not getting the care that you need when you have serious mental illness is fatal. Can be fatal very often. And luckily, I live in Canada and I have access to a lot of stuff that people in a lot of the other places don't. But I don't know what the solution to this is. I really don't, but I think that since a lot of information is put forward through the media that is skewed and wrong, I'm going to say this, that is not skewed or wrong, in my opinion. It's not that simple, you know? It's not, people don't just go out and, you know, commit acts of crime because they're mentally ill. It's so untrue. So, and it creates an environment where, you know, ignorance, and not even necessarily, well, it's ignorance, but on top of that, it's just false assumptions. People think they understand mental illness because of the information that they have. You know, it's terribly damaging. But this is just my little rant. Maybe I'm imagining the connections here. If anyone, if I'm wrong about this, please tell me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm just seeing connections where there aren't any because I'm hyper focusing on, you know, the topic of mental health. But it looks ugly from where I'm standing and it looks like misinformation. So this is me trying to put forward information. All right.